I had lunch with a very close friend of mine today, and he had something on his wrist that immediately caught my eye, and it was so captivating. I asked if I could borrow it for a little bit and film it, because this is an incredibly understated, underrated watch, especially when you consider that the watchmaker that this watch comes from is incredibly prolific and well known and very popular, but this one model seems to fly under the radar a little bit. So let's get up close and talk about the history of the Omega Railmaster. It is 3:11 p.m. Let's get down to business. The Omega Railmaster was introduced in 1957. It was initially designed for individuals who work in environments with high magnetic fields, like railway workers and scientists. As part of Omega's professional series alongside the Seamaster and Speedmasters, the Railmaster stood out for its ability to withstand magnetic fields upwards of 1,000 Gauss. In 2003, Omega thankfully revived the Railmaster series, and current models now have updated technology with even better anti-magnetic capabilities and coaxial escapements. Now, as I had this Omega Railmaster in my hands and on my wrist, and as I thought about it, I was thinking, you know, this is a true underdog when we're looking at kind of accessible luxury. Because the fact of the matter is, Omega is a Swiss luxury powerhouse, and they're often most compared to another Swiss luxury powerhouse, Rolex. So what does Rolex offer that's kind of their entryway to Swiss luxury? Well, I suppose their most attainable piece would be a Rolex Oyster Perpetual. And I know what you're thinking, well, if we're really going to compare an Omega Railmaster to a specific Rolex, it should be the Rolex Milgauss. Because after all, that's Rolex's answer to anti-magnetic watches. But the truth is, it wouldn't be even fair to compare the Railmaster to the Milgauss, because the Railmaster does everything the Milgauss does for a quarter of the price. So let's just go ahead and compare this Railmaster to something that we all know and love. Just a simple Rolex Oyster Perpetual. Now, one obvious reason you might choose the Omega over that specific Rolex is the anti-magnetic properties the Railmaster has. Next up, the historical significance. As stated earlier, the Railmaster has a very specific history catering to railway workers and scientists. So the Omega might just appeal to you because you work in those fields, or someone you know or love work in those fields, or maybe you're just a nerd like me and you really appreciate watches that were developed to solve a very specific problem. I think that's what's really cool about specific watches like this. I think another reason you might want to choose an Omega Railmaster over a current Rolex Oyster Perpetual is because the Omega is going to wear much better on the wrist, especially if you have more slender wrists. Okay, so a current Oyster Perpetual comes in at 41 millimeters, and the truth is, Oyster cases wear much larger than they list on paper, whereas this Omega comes in at 40, and it sits quite nicely on my just over 7.5-inch wrists. And I think the final obvious reason you might want to choose the Omega over the Rolex is pricing and accessibility, okay? So again, when we're looking at these kind of science-based anti-magnetic watches, yes, Rolex does have a Milgauss, and Omega has this Railmaster. But we've already established that a Milgauss is way in a different price range. So comparing this Omega to a Rolex Oyster Perpetual is a bit more of a fair comparison, but still an Oyster Perpetual is about twice the price of an Omega Railmaster. And again, simply the accessibility alone is going to make the Omega just a much easier pick. You can go into any Omega boutique and they'll be able to get you a Railmaster, whereas you go into any Rolex AD and they may or may not be willing to sell you an OP. But there you have it, guys, a quick history and kind of a comparison when we're taking a look at a watch that I absolutely love and something that you should pay attention to, the Omega Railmaster. It's kind of the unsung hero of the Omega Professional series, as far as I'm concerned. All right, guys, I will catch you on the next one. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay blessed. I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller, and always remember, I didn't invent time. I just tell it.